Hi, everyone, and welcome back to RIRE One-on-One with Zach Friedland. And today we are sitting down with one of the saxophone players from the Rhode Island Recording Ensemble. Everyone say hi to Katie Hollowell, joining us from her home in Cranston, Rhode Island.
Yep.
Welcome, Katie. And I thought it'd be really fun today to, I've talked to Brandon Dix back last month, and I wanted to get another perspective, not only from one of the performers in RIRE, but also through the eyes of a music educator. And so why don't you just start by telling us about what you do?
So I have been teaching for, this is my second year, I'm finishing it up. I've been teaching at Our Lady of Mercy in East Greenwich, Rhode Island for 2 years now. I'm the band director and I am the general music educator for pre-K through 8. And pretty much it's been a blast.
What age range of students do you work with?
So I work with pre-K, which can be anywhere from 3 to 4 up towards 8th grade.
Okay, cool. So you get to run the gamut of,
Yep.
Yeah. And so I guess a good place to start was, I definitely want to talk a little bit about your experience at URI, but where did your musical career begin? What kind of inspired you on the path that you're on?
Well, I guess high school was when it actually began kind of getting serious, when I considered music part of who I was and what I did instead of just another class I took. And then becoming section leader and looking at colleges and stuff like that and careers, it seemed to work out. So I figured, let's go for music education. I want to teach. I love performing. That's great and all, but I would rather encourage future generations to pretty much apply music to their lives in any way possible. I'm not teaching future Philharmonic players. I'm teaching people who are everyday people who are just trying to get through life, and music can be a way to do that.
Cool. I want to come back to that, but I don't want to skip over. You did a double major at the University of Rhode Island,
Yep.
which was music education and psychology.
Yep.
And how do you feel that benefited just kind of your perspective on things?
I think it benefited me beyond what I could imagine, because while music education is great, the fact that there is so much crammed into the 4 years, you don't really get the psychology aspect of dealing with people, because you're working with students that come from all sorts of backgrounds, different family situations, different incomes, all that kind of stuff. And you need to be able to reach every single one of them. And also, I felt we didn't get enough of the special needs aspect. We need to reach everyone in our schools. We can't just teach to the normal ed classrooms. So I figured, okay, well, I'll add the psychology because I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I specialized in developmental, special needs psychology, any of those kinds of things. And I was able to kind of build my own path through it.
Excellent. And because you mentioned it, and because we're in such an unusual time, what does it mean to be a music teacher during the COVID-19 pandemic? I know that's kind of a broad question, but what are we learning about music education right now, and what should we take away from just the way the past few months have gone?
Right now, pretty much most classes, like even the general ed classes, are taking a back burner to everyone's social emotional needs right now, since it's such a crazy time, and pretty much none of the kids have ever had to deal with any kind of life-changing incident before. They've never lived through a historical event before, and this is, for many of them, their first one, and it's terrifying. So as an educator, I offer my students a chance to kind of explore some new things, try some new things out, but also I try to be as understanding as possible since I can't see them face to face. They can't tell me, Miss Hollowell, I'm having difficulties with this assignment, or like I'm having trouble at home. What can I do? As long as I can get some form of contact with them, I let them kind of work at their own pace, figure things out, and I work through the problems with them in real time. I'm on my email almost all time, all day, and I sit down with them and I say, hey, let's work this out together.
And do you feel that, because obviously you never expected you never expected to teach through something like this. Do you feel like this alone has changed your approach to music education? Like, if you were to write your teaching philosophy today, would it be different, or?
Well, it's hard because we were never taught to teach this way. We were taught to teach face-to-face, large classrooms, small classrooms, anything like that. And luckily, as music educators, we've adapted. We had no choice but to adapt and adapt quickly. And I think my philosophy would stay the same, just pretty much make sure that you can adapt no matter the situation. We're all in this together. We're all sharing our ideas. No one's alone in this. We got to do it together.
Yeah. And what would you, obviously, and this is the case with RIRE, and this is the case with a lot of things, the arts, unfortunately, just because of the nature of it, have to go on hold. And from a teacher's perspective, what do you think people should be taking away about the importance of music and dance and art and all that stuff? But obviously focused on music. What should we all take away from this, both your students and just society as a whole?
I think everyone should look at what they're doing day to day, what they're using to cope, and realize that looking at a science textbook or reading Old English might not be everyone's go-to to figure out and get some comfort from all of this. Sometimes it's playing your favorite video game, or sometimes it's watching a movie, or listening to your favorite music, or dancing around your living room. Things like that are what people are using to cope. So we need to make sure that we actually focus on those. Otherwise, how are people going to get access to them?
For sure. So yeah, sorry, we jumped right into it because it's a very interesting time for just the arts, and especially I think that the teachers are kind of at the front lines of this. Unfortunately, a lot of performances and stuff are sidetracked, but you guys keep going. And so, just thank you for what you do. But I want to just go back to URI a little bit, because you also worked with the Symphonic Wind Ensemble as a conductor.
Yep.
And so just to talk a little bit about that experience. Obviously, URI is a huge part of RIRE, and we host our festival there every year, and a lot of players are either URI students or URI graduates. So just tell us a little bit about your experience with the Symphonic Wind Ensemble and all that.
Yep. So I started playing in the Symphonic Wind Ensemble when I was a sophomore. And when I was a senior, going into my senior year, Dr. Jean Pollard offered me pretty much a chance to work on my conducting skills. He saw me in conducting class. He worked with me, and he just thought that, hey, I think you have some potential. Would you like to work on it? And I was absolutely thrilled, because of course I want to work on that. Of course I want to work one-on-one. I want to do an independent study on this. And so he kind of took me under his wing, and I was able to work with the ensemble for like a few times a week for a few, like 10 minutes each time. And we worked on one piece per concert. So that was 4 pieces total because we went for 1 semester, worked out great. And he invited me back to do another independent study the next semester. So I was so fortunate to do this for a full year. And I wouldn't trade anything for that experience. That was one of the best experiences of my time at URI.
Yeah, I think, the reason I ask about it is because I think, the ability to conduct as a student and get that practical experience really kind of relates to our mission about what we try to do, and bringing composers in and having, giving them the chance to actually hear their music, not played back through a computer. How would you, as both teacher, conductor, whatever you want to call it, how would you sum up the value of practical experience in just learning any musical skill?
Practical experience is everything. You can practice conducting all you want. You can compose all you want. You can perform for yourself all you want. But as soon as you get in front of actual people, or you put your music in front of actual people, that's when everything comes alive. That's when you're actually tested. As an educator, that's an actual real problem, because once you go into student teaching, you have all these classroom management strategies. None of them are guaranteed to work. You have to make sure you know what you're doing at all times, and you need to be able to pretty much take whatever you have out of your little basket of tricks and put it to work at any time. So practical experience is everything.
Cool. And just out of the piece that you conducted, because you conducted 4 pieces, do you want to just tell us about some of the music that you enjoyed conducting, maybe your favorite one that you did, just to get a little taste of what kind of music you enjoy really working with in the band literature?
Well, I didn't actually get to choose most of my pieces. They were
He chose for you?
kind of.
Oh, ooh.
He gave me some options, and he kind of like looked at it, and he would give me something that would fit in with what he had already planned.
Okay, I got to make my own picks because I had to be approved, but wow, he toughened up.
I had for the last concert, he gave me a list of things,
Yeah.
and said, like, rank them.
Okay.
And so I ranked them, and we ended up doing a Percy Grainger song, which was, I love Percy Grainger, but he can be that can be quite the challenging piece sometimes.
Which one did you do?
Molly on the Shore.
Okay. Yep. It wasn't Lincolnshire Posey. I can.
No.
It's your typical graduate. I guess broader question might be, obviously I know right now you work with very young students, so you can talk about it in that respect, or if you want to talk about it as if you were, the director of a college wind ensemble. How do you approach programming and selection of literature?
It's a tough. When I'm the conductor and director of my school's band, jazz band, little band, all that stuff. And it's pretty much a challenge between what fits well and what they can do.
Mhm.
So at the college level, it's actually a lot easier in a sense. Yeah, you have so much more to pick from, but there's a good chance you're going to have the players that can do it. I, for example, might have for 1 year, not even like this year, but some years, I might have a really strong saxophone player, but my flute section might not be totally up to par. How do I choose what pieces fit well with that? How do I work with that? Do I rearrange things? It's a lot more involved than I actually imagined it would be. but it's something that I actually enjoy doing. Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of balancing factors.
Oh
And
yeah.
as far as just thinking, again, among like if you're the director of that college wind ensemble, you know, what uh, what are some of the interesting directions that you enjoy seeing band literature go in? Because what I love about the band is no other large ensemble is commissioning music the way that the band is. It's just so there's so much stuff out there. What are you enjoying seeing spring up? You know?
I'm enjoying seeing pretty much just the repertoire expand, because sometimes there's only so many marchers you can play before it just kind of gets dry and boring and the same thing over again. But it's expanding in all directions. There's something for everyone. And I also really appreciate that there's more female composers out there now that are actually getting their works recognized. Like as a female conductor, it's hard for me to always get the recognition. Even when I'm up in front of my students, sometimes they'll see me, but remember that their old band director was male, and sometimes it's hard to get the same respect.
For sure. And yeah, on that subject, you know, if you saw our interview with Dr. Caitlin Bove, you know that RIRE is very much looking forward to working with the And We Were Heard project hopefully in January when we have our 7th season. And so it's going to be great to really have a diverse roster of composers for the next Rhode Island Recording Ensemble. And let's get into Rhode Island Recording Ensemble a little bit, because you have been playing with the group for, I believe you've been for 4 of the 6 years.
I think so, yeah.
So what has your impression been in seeing the thing grow? Because even year 3 was still kind of we were kind of coming into our own. So just what has been your experience working with the group in general?
I guess when I first joined, you reached out to me. I think it was out of the blue, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? Another chance to play, another chance to do something. Sure,
I tend to do that.
Whatever. But I mean, that's how you get things done. But I remember showing up and just sitting down and looking at the music and saying, I can do this. I can do this. And there are tons of people, I have no idea who they are around me, but we're going to do this together. And we did. Like, even if we were printing music at the last minute in the resource center and panicking about random things, like it came together. And then the next year it got more organized, more people, more pieces. And again, the next year, continued improvement, more people, more pieces, better playing, more interaction with the composers. And it keeps growing. And that's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. And just what have some of your favorite pieces, memories, anything been for the last 4 years? I know they may all start to blend together, but I don't know if if anything stands out.
All I remember is sitting next to people and working through problems together and working with the other sections around me. Like, the flutes are right in front of me, and sometimes we tap one on the shoulder and be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, do you got this? Do you have this? I got this. And we'd work things out on the spot, because of course it's new music. We were just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And so I want to also talk a little bit about, because I know you have future aspirations. You are looking at possibility of grad school in the future. So why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of what you would like to do going forward in a couple of years?
My current plan is, I hope, well, we'll see how all of this pans out because
Who
of
knows? Who knows these days?
who knows these days, is within the next 2 years, maybe three, we'll see, um, is to go to grad school for conducting for wind ensembles, um, and just kind of grow as a conductor myself. So that way, because I feel as much as it's great to be a great performer, I think you need a great conductor in front of school bands. As much as it's amazing to have the conductors at the fill and stuff like that, a lot of school teachers don't have that experience. But at the same time, I would also like to eventually get involved with community groups and maybe conduct those or expand my wings. I want to just give it a shot.
Yeah. And because obviously you're very ensconced in the band world, and it's something that's it's been growing. If you compare to the comparison I like to make is, orchestra starts hundreds of years ago. Band kind of essentially started in 1953 with the Eastman Wind Ensemble. Where do you see this going? The band genre in general.
I see it just continuing to grow. We're musicians where we don't like to give up and we like to always make sure that there's a place for ourselves in the world. So I see it going forward no matter what.
And obviously, with all the social distancing, there's been a huge influx of kind of technology. Obviously, my opinion is it's never going to replace what we do. But do you see the use of technology continuing to enhance the field in any way, both as far as music education goes and as far as performance goes, even after social distancing is over?
Yeah, I think technology can help a lot with certain aspects of music education, definitely. It helps a lot with certain programs like Smart Music to help band kids or pretty much any instrumentalist or singer to practice. It helps teach them to practice too. And other pieces of technology using Google Classroom, Zoom, all that kind of thing. And it's helping with the general music. It's helping kind of let the students work at their own pace, which isn't always the best thing in this situation, but at the same time, we're making it work. And I feel like we can make it work going forward if needed.
Cool. And so the last thing I always like to do, if we can, is just talk a little bit about outside interests, because sometimes with music the job can consume you. So I know you are an avid pet owner, but is what are the other things that kind of define you in your off time?
Well, I like to watch a lot of Netflix and YouTube and pretty much just anything that's can be put on and I don't have to think. Because as much as I love music, it fries my brain. I get to a point where there's too much.
Yeah, no, definitely. You have to, every once in a while, you just have to just let it out for a little bit.
Yep. So those kinds of things. I love video games. I love Nintendo games, PS4 games, that kind of thing. It's a good way to pretty much pass the time and just keep my level of cognition low.
And I forget their names. You have a cat and a bunny.
Yep. I have a bunny. His name is Cream.
That's it.
I think he's about like 12 years old. I adopted him about 6 years ago.
Is that old for bunnies?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's on the old side. I like to call him my grumpy little man, a grumpy old man, because he likes to nap and cause trouble. And I also have a 2-year-old calico cat named Sweetie Belle. I adopted her. Her name was Sweetie, and then I just added the Belle because she's such a princess.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sitting down with us for a little bit. It was just great to kind of get your thoughts on everything that's going on right now. If they have any questions, if they want to follow up for you, what's a good email or way that people can contact you?
My best email is kahollowell@gmail.com. That's pretty much my professional one. And I check it regularly. So if anyone has any questions, I'm always there.
Great. And for more information about what we do, you go to www.rirecording.org. As of now, the Rhode Island Recording Ensemble's 7th season is scheduled for January 8th, 9th, and 10th of 2021. So thank you for listening today. Thank you to Katie. And in the meantime, just keep staying safe, healthy, and stay home. And we will be making music together again soon enough. Take care.